at Explory, and the new tool that we've recently launched is called MaxB, and it's all about exhibit measurement, exhibit strategy. And we've worked with a great working group of corporate exhibit leads and trade show managers over about 18 months, have developed the 7 key data pillars that we think every single exhibitor should be collecting on site. And we've done that, first of all, for clarity. Second of all, to allow you to be strategic without it spending lots of your time, which we know you don't have. And third of all, to be consistent, so that if you're collecting these 7 data categories across every single exhibit that you exhibit at, you are putting yourself in a really great strategic position to make great decisions, to have the right data, to be able to win those arguments with the business, to demonstrate the value and impact of attending those events, and to understand your objectives.
I will go through the 7 types of data exhibitors should collect, right? Okay, so first one is Expo characteristics.
Yes. So that is, first of all, it's actually understanding the characteristics of the trade show that you're exhibiting at. That's what industry does it serve? Where is it? What size? What type of event? Is it paid for? Et cetera, and so forth. So that's just the bigger picture. Where are you and what's the trade show like?
And does that also have to do with like this idea of saying, okay, if there's 3,000 attendees or 4,000 or 10,000, like being able to try to quantify like how many of those could be your target audience? Is it 5%, 10%? Does that play into it?
Yeah, but it's even more strategic than that. What it allows you to do is, if you understand the different types of event you're exhibiting at, then when you've got 20 trade shows that you're analyzing across the year, you can have all of that in one place, and you can see, okay, well, maybe we're low on this score because of this industry, or so you can correlate the Expo characteristics with the other objective scores. So you can start to see those trend lines, those lines of best fit, those anomalies, those outliers. And so it allows you to, again, big picture, look at things with a really strategic lens.
Okay. The second is Expo scoring and sentiment.
Yeah. So absolutely, we've got the Expo characteristics, really important, but also we want to hear a little bit, or we recommend that you should document a bit around what your team that exhibit, what the sales team on the ground think of that event. How important is it to the business? So it's all about sentiment. It's all about feeling, because despite, contrary to popular belief, feeling can be quantified. And so that's what this does, is if you really take the time to understand the sentiment towards that event, you can also start to see how that plays its role in the analysis.
I like that one. And I think it's an interesting piece to put in here. And I will say I had Nancy Toohill on from LexisNexis, and she's their, head of event marketing. And she said they created, because they're a data company, they created a scorecard. And that scorecard goes to the lead or the main marketer, salesperson, whoever is at every event that they do. It could be a small tabletop, right? Or it could be a major conference. So they have a scorecard. And some of what goes in there is their like subjective sentiment on what happened. Exactly. So I think that's
the same page. So we've done something really similar to LexisNexis, but it's something that anyone can use, and it doesn't have to be developed in-house. But yeah, really, really great comparison.
Third is exhibit characteristics.
Yeah. So again, like the Expo characteristics, the exhibit characteristics, the actual characteristics of your booth. So is it stand only? How big is it? How many personnel did you bring along? So which team members are on site? Anything you can think of that's really clear, really tangible.
Budget allocation.
Yeah. So budget allocation, what we recommend is, rather than even just, because a lot of trade show managers and teams will just say, oh, we spent 50 grand on this exhibit. What they don't do is actually break down all the different buckets. And it's important that you do that, because again, if you're really going to work out where you can either reduce spend or where you want to increase spend, you need to understand the breakdown. So this could be anything from drainage to travel costs to accommodation to the actual booth cost to your on-site partners to your AV, whatever it might be. It's, if you can, we recommend that in every single circumstance you document the individual buckets.
Fifth is strategic execution.
Strategic execution. Okay, so this kind of speaks to the earlier point around setting your objectives in advance. We all know, but sometimes some of us forget, that you can't just sign up to a trade show, turn up on your booth, and then go home afterwards and expect to have great results. You need to do some things strategically yourself. So whether that be you invite some of your customers along, or whether that be you do a promotional campaign in advance, or whether that be 6 months out, or it could even be, when do you book your stand at that show? Do you book it 6 months before, 2 weeks before, or a year before? And how does that impact the results of that specific show? So all of these are all about being strategic and understanding what you're actually doing.
The 6th is achievement of strategic objectives.
Yeah, so this just dovetails really nicely with what we spoke about earlier. It's just, what are your strategic objectives of that show? Is it brand awareness? Is it launching a product? Is it more leads? Is it upselling current customers? Is it networking? Whatever. And it's saying, did we achieve those strategic objectives? And then it'll give you a score. Or if you're collecting it yourself, you can track and measure that.
Seventh is lead and meeting analytics.
Yeah. So, I mean, probably the thing that's already done mostly across the board is actually getting your leads and meeting data. It's interesting for us. We do want to keep this in because leads are obviously sometimes a really big objective when you're attending an exhibit or a trade show. They're not always, but they are a part of it. But we think it's only a seventh of the data you should be collecting. And in so many circumstances I see, that's all people are collecting. You cannot get an accurate performance analysis of your trade show success based on one data point. It's absolutely impossible. And yet it's what we've been doing for decades. So we're suggesting to people, move away from leads, include it, but it absolutely is not the be all and end all of whether your event was a success.
That was a great rundown of all seven. And I think what's important to say for people is, could be a lot to consume, but I think you need to take it and make it yours to a degree, right? Like which can you start doing now? Which can you start to factor? Which can you start to document, or at least start to focus on a little bit? And you just kind of chip them off one at a time until you get into a little bit of a rhythm.